All right, welcome to a screencast follow along on food webs and energy pyramids. On the back of this sheet, hopefully you have watched 3 videos already that were posted on my website that were just kind of tutorials so that you could get to know food webs and energy pyramids and how they worked. What you're going to need for this particular sheet is obviously the sheet and a pencil to write with. But you're also going to need some matte pencils, and which colors are going to be down here. So green, violet, yellow, red, light blue, and orange. So gather your materials and then we will get started. Okay, the first thing I want you to do is to walk through the food web with me, and let's identify first the producers. Now, I want to use, on my food web, as I circle, I want to use the same color as I'm going to use down there on the energy pyramid for producers. So producers, we're going to circle in green, which makes sense because a lot of times your producers are green plants. So if you're looking at the food web, mangoes, that's a type of fruit, that's a plant. Lavender, that's a plant. Flowers, flowering plants, corn, okay? All of these are your producers. And producers are also known as autotrophs. And so I want you to jot that down real quickly so that that's kind of a reminder. Okay, producers equals autotrophs, meaning they make their own food. And usually they make their own food from energy that they get from the sun. Okay, so in green you've got your producers. And then pretty much everything else on the food web is a consumer of some sort. Consumers do not make their own food. Consumers rely on eating other organisms, whether they're plants or animals. They have to eat some other living organism to obtain their energy. So everybody else on this food web is a consumer of some sort, okay? Your consumers are collectively known as heterotrophs, okay? So everything else that we color on the food web or circle on the food web is going to be a heterotroph of some sort. Okay, so what I did, I didn't give you any warning, but you need maybe a gray also. What I did is I put a bubble around all of the rest of the food web, because all of the rest of the food web, if it's not a producer, it's a consumer of some sort, okay? And consumers are collectively known as heterotrophs. So all in this area, those are all consumers of one sort or another, and they're all considered heterotrophs. Okay, so now let's break it down a little bit and look at what we've got as far as what level consumers we have. Okay, we're going to look first for consumers that eat the producers directly. Okay, so consumers that eat the producers directly. You follow the arrows from any of the producers. So this arrow goes from the corn to the grasshopper. So the grasshopper is a primary consumer because it's consuming a producer, an autotroph. The butterfly is also a primary consumer because it's got an arrow going from the flowering plant and from the lavender. And also the fruit fly is a primary consumer because it's feeding off of the mangoes. And if you've ever had fruit flies around your house, you know that they love to eat fruit. And you constantly see them on the bananas or the apples or the oranges or whatever that you've left out. So these guys are all of our primary consumers. In this particular level, they would be herbivores, which means they only eat plants. Okay? And at this point, what I want to do is we're going to start sort of shifting between our food web and the energy pyramid, which is down below. So we're going to go ahead and shift down there, and we're going to fill in the bottom 2 trophic levels on our energy pyramid. Okay, so here's what I've done. I know it's magically appeared out of nowhere, but I paused the video long enough for me to do that. What I did is I framed the bottom level of the pyramid, our bottom trophic level 1. I framed it in green because those are all producers, our autotrophs. And then the rest of the pyramid is made up of heterotrophs. Heterotrophs, remember, are consumers of some sort. They have to eat another organism, okay? Now, we continue with the color scheme that I've lined out. You know, once we trace the rest of the triangle in in gray, we're going to label this second level of the energy pyramid. We're going to make sure that that's red to indicate that that's where our primary consumers are, our herbivores. Now, if you look at the food web, let's identify and write down our producers and our primary consumers. Okay, so I have shaded the bottom level of our energy pyramid green, and we had already labeled it producers or autotrophs. So I listed corn, flowering plants, lavender, and mangoes. Then you go up to trophic level number 2, that set of organisms that's eating the producers, and those guys are grasshoppers, butterflies, and fruit flies. Okay, so I colored that red. Those are your herbivores, the ones that are eating only plants. Okay, so let's take another jump up to trophic level number 3. So let's kind of go back to the food web and see what eats these guys. Okay, so that would be our next trophic level. Trophic level 3, we're going to use violet. Okay, so let me find my violet. Okay, so frogs eat the grasshoppers. Rats eat the grasshoppers. Dragonflies eat the butterflies and the fruit flies. And the frogs also eat the butterfly, but we've already identified that as a secondary consumer. And there's one other. The thrush, which is a type of bird, will eat some of the primary consumers when it eats fruit flies. So we're going to go down here and talk about what our secondary consumers are. Okay, so our secondary consumers, the consumers that are eating the primary consumers, those are the thrush, the dragonfly, the frog, and the rat, and we've circled those in purple. Okay, now things are about to start getting a little bit more complicated, but I think if you follow along, you'll be okay. Okay, so let's go back up to the food web and let's see who would be a level 4 on the trophic level. You might consider these to be tertiary consumers. They are consumers that are eating the secondary consumers. So let's follow our arrows and see who can be considered a tertiary consumer, or somebody who occupies trophic level number 4. Now I'm going to use light blue for these guys. Okay. All right, so this is trophic level 1, 2, 3, and if I follow the arrow, the wolf would be trophic level 4 if we're talking about this pathway, not in all pathways. Okay. If I went 1, 2, 3 and followed this arrow, the eagle would be trophic level 4. If I went 1, 2, 3, 4, the python would be trophic level 4. Okay, but watch. 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Let's say we follow this path. Lavender, 1 to butterfly, 2 to dragonfly, 3 to frog. In that case, the frog can also be a level 4, a tertiary level consumer, or trophic level 4. Okay. That's not actually y'all's bell. That's the bell for me in the middle of my recording, so hang on. All right, so we had a little bit of an interruption with the bell ringing, but we're back on track. So we're looking for consumers which would occupy this trophic level number 4. And we've already identified that depending on which path you take through the food web, the eagle could be a level 4, could exist in level 4 of the energy pyramid. So could the wolf, so could the frog, so could the python. If you will go from flowering plant to butterfly to dragonfly over to here, if you follow that pathway, the thrush could also be considered a trophic level 4. Okay, so what I want to do is pause for just a second, and we're going to identify our consumers that would occupy that trophic level 4 and write them down. Okay, so for consumers that occupy trophic level number 4, I've got the eagle, the wolf, the thrush, the frog, and the python. Are they always at this trophic level? No, not necessarily. It depends on which pathway through the food web you take, and you're going to notice that several of these animals can occupy more than one of the trophic levels on the energy pyramid. All right, so let's move on to trophic level number 5, which we're going to use yellow for. Okay, and again, we're going to look at our food web and see where we wind up when we take 5 steps. Let's see. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The eagle in some cases acts like a trophic level 5 consumer. Let's see if we can take another path. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The python can be a level 5 on the trophic level. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Nope. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the wolf could be on trophic level number 5. Okay. So let's pause and write those guys down. All right, so again, once again, depending on the pathway that's followed through the food web, the wolf, python, and eagle could be on trophic level 5 of the energy pyramid. Okay, now we're going to go through it one more time and see if there's any possibility of us getting a trophic level 6 organism. Here we go. If I go, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5 to 6, your eagle could be a level 6 also. And I think he's the only one that we've got. And if he has nobody eating him, he's considered a top predator. So that's what I'm going to put at the top predator. Okay, and I'm running out of room, so just write eagle. Now, is it always an eagle? No, it's just whatever organism is the top dog in that particular food chain. In this case, it's the eagle, but other food chains, it may be something different. Okay, but one of the things I want to point out to you is once you start getting towards the top of the energy pyramid, some of these upper level consumers, in some cases, they may eat more than one thing, so they may occupy more than one trophic level in your energy pyramid. Okay, I do want to point out just real quickly that I hope you have noticed that I drew the little sun down here at the bottom, because ultimately the sun starts off everything, because the producers, your plants, have to get energy from the sun in order to undergo photosynthesis and produce their own food. Okay, and then they are consumed by your primary consumers, and on and on and on up the chain. Okay, so take a few minutes, and we're going to go up to the top and attempt to answer a couple of questions. Okay. Okay, I think since this video is already over 14 minutes long, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a brief video that will walk us through the rest of these questions. But I'll have to do it on a second video. So stay tuned.